you have to put the best possible program around them. The ones that succeed, you'll get the occasional individual, almost the outlier, that you can put them in any situation and they'll produce their best.
Yep.
But the key is that it sounds, I'm going to get a bit psychological here, but you kind of got to separate the person's got to learn to separate their identity from their performance.
Yep.
Because if this performance defines you, it's make or break. It's just too much to bear. So what the good coaches are endeavouring to do is to essentially do three things: to develop the ability of their athletes to do the basics and to do them repeatedly and consistently under pressure in any situation. The second is to be very, very, very clear what their strengths are and to trust themselves and trust their strengths.
Yep.
And then the third one is then the ability to operate. If you're in a team environment, it's the ability to operate as a team to apply pressure. And if you're an individual, it's the ability then to apply your sort of pressure, if you like, or your momentum towards your task. So at the end of the day, you cannot. I mean, I've seen it with these athletes, and many of them are kids. You cannot take in the enormity of an Olympic Games. There are too many athletes, too much going on, and so on. You have to be on task.
Yeah.
So the ability of the coach to develop players who trust the coach, trust the management, trust everything around them, so they can just be on task. That's what the whole program and process ultimately is about. You're not trying to perform in the Olympics. You're trying to perform in your sport on a given day at your absolute best because you prepared yourself to test yourself to be how good you can be. And our sort of almost final little speech to the athletes, if they were wavering in the last 24 hours, was always trust yourself, you've done the work, trust your teammates, they've put in everything with you and you know the values, and trust the game plan, it's been tried and tested. Get out, have fun, and celebrate what you're doing. So it's and of course every individual has differences, but what you're trying to do is to get them to do their business, to do their trade, their craft, whatever, and not to get too absorbed in the, wow, this is the Olympics and everything. It's too big. There's too many expectations. You just can't take it on. And when you see someone, I mean, Cathy Freeman, with the sort of enormity of what was around her in Sydney, was just wow, what an example of a person that was able to operate in that environment and still bring out her best. It was one of the most phenomenal performances I've ever seen. So,
it was breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yeah, and as a psychologist, you kind of look in awe at some of these people going, God, I don't think I could do that. And a lot of it then comes down to that mindfulness, that ability to stay calm, composed, clear-minded, focused. And there's an old rule of sports psychology says the last thing you learn is the first thing that falls apart under pressure, which basically means somebody tells you something to do when you go out to bat, the first thing you'll forget or the first thing will go wrong. So what will happen under pressure is what you've drilled and what you've been prepared for. So, and that's almost always the basics, and then a bit of inspiration on top of it, you hope.